Hey guys, I'm here today to do my review for book talk, I guess, for The Disaster Tourist by Yun Ko Eun, and translated by Lizzie Bueller. And this is for the Indie Press Project. The publisher that we focused on this month was Counterpoint Press, which is based in Berkeley, California. And I don't think there's anything like that they specifically focus on. It's kind of just an indie publisher. They have a couple of imprints. I think one of them is Soft Skull Press. But yeah, oh boy, I loved this book so much. I wish that I had done a review of it right when I finished, but you know, I will learn one of these days. So this book is by a South Korean author, and the plot of the book is that our main character, whose name I don't remember, Yona, she works for a company that focuses on disaster tourism. So basically, it's kind of like these packages that I think are pretty common where you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna set up this package. I'm gonna go to this location. It's for like 5 days, 7 nights. That doesn't make any sense. 7 days, 5 nights, and they're gonna like set up some activities for me to do. So it's a pretty common thing. I think like Kontiki is one of them, and there's other ones. But so this specific company that she works for focuses on going to places where disaster has struck. So for example, like if there's a huge earthquake that has happened, or a volcano eruption, or any kind of area or place where some kind of devastation has occurred, people pay money to go there and be either educated. They also have like programs where you can go and try to help like rebuilding things and everything. So there's different types of disaster tourism too. So educational purposes and blah, 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 whatever. So she is one of the people that designs the tours. Tour might not be the right word, the package. She's one of the person that designs the packages. So, there'll be like something that happens, and then she'll decide like if they're going to go tour this place, and then what the focus is going to be of the actual trip. And so her position is kind of like wobbly because of some sexual harassment from her boss, and so she's like about to walk out basically, and they're like, why don't you go on this trip and then you can basically report back to us. Well, I guess let me be more clear. They have a selection of like 5 packages, I think, that are not performing well. So not a lot of people are paying for them. And they say you pick which one you want, and then you go as a tourist, and then you tell us like why you think this isn't working, and if you think that we should like continue to promote this, like have this be part of a package that we provide. And so she goes, and she doesn't act like she's part of the company at all. She's just a tourist that's there. And then things unfold from there, and it is so good. It's kind of like a mystery a little bit. There is one specific scene that is quite upsetting to me, just because the whole thing is upsetting because it's focusing on like capitalism and like taking advantage of poor countries and places that don't have a lot going on for them, that have had this horrible thing happening, and having people pay money to go and stare at the grief basically that a town or area has experienced. So there's that whole like portion of the story. But what happens to her in this book, and I don't want to say anything more plot-wise because I feel like the way it unravels is just so spectacular, but there is a specific scene that has to do with her traveling and getting a little lost, and it like causes me so much anxiety because what happens to her is literally something that I have feared happening to me. There was an instance where I was on a train on the way from Serbia to Hungary in the summer of 2015, and our train got stuck in the middle of nowhere because of power outage, and we were stranded for like 8 hours, and it was like a really stressful thing, and I was afraid to like leave because there's a couple of train carts. I don't know if cart is the right word. Carriages. I don't know. And I was just like afraid to go anywhere and like not be with someone because I was afraid of being lost basically. And so something similar happens to her. Again, I don't want to like really disclose what, because I really, really think that you all should read this book. The plot is, again, stellar. It's really, really quick paced. You're really intrigued with everything that's going on. The characters are all really like fleshed out in my opinion. And again, like things are more sinister than they appear to be. So she kind of like is discovering things that are not good, and then things just like keep getting worse, and it's just so good. So yeah, plot is great, character is great. I think the translation was great because it flowed very, very well in my opinion. And like, obviously there was like a grander message involved in this book. So I think it was stellar. I think I gave this 4 or 4.5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. And I will definitely be picking up more works by this author. If there's anything else translated, to be honest with you, this might be the only book of hers that's translated. Oh my gosh. And I'm actually gonna cry thinking about it. I'm gonna read you guys the afterword of the book. So if you don't want to listen, that's fine, but it has to do with translations in general. And so I just wanted to share it. Jake always likes to interrupt. I'm almost done. Don't talk. Okay. So this is the afterword of the book. And again, it has nothing to do with the book. It has to do with translations and why like that is so important to this author specifically. Sometimes I imagine scenes so euphoric that they grow absurd, like riding a crowded subway and being pushed into someone reading a book that I wrote. Out of joy, I'd scramble away. Or seeing a passage I've written, one that I've forgotten, carefully hung on the wall in some family home. Maybe that will be the start of another novel, the mystery of how a forgotten passage traveled to an unknown wall. Other times I envision people ordering my books as Christmas presents, although I don't know if this novel really brings Christmas to mind. I even contemplate scenarios in which my books are flying off the shelves with such speed, one every 30 seconds, that the publisher shouts in frustration, "Can't we just stop this madness?" Now, one of these absurdities has come to pass. The Disaster Tourist is my first novel to be translated into English, and I find myself writing its afterword. For years, I daydreamed that my novels might be translated into another language, showcased on the shelves of unfamiliar bookstores. I invented some distant person who might, by chance, pick up one of my stories, marking the beginning of an unforeseen voyage. I'm grateful to Lizzie Bueller. If she hadn't, by chance, picked up and translated this book, it might not have left Korea. The many happenstances that brought us together are the kinds of things that only come around once, if at all. This moment, that moment, perfectly aligned temporal paths crossed. If Lizzie and the Disaster Tourist hadn't exchanged cosmic winks with one another, I wouldn't be writing these words and you wouldn't be reading them. And then, she goes on to talk about Counterpoint Press. So without Barbara Zitwer's devotion, without the drive of Counterpoint Press, this book wouldn't exist in English, not now, not ever. And if you, the reader, hadn't picked this book, the narrative would be different still. When I think of the trajectory created by these converging choices, I hallucinate a constellation of coincidences floating in front of my eyes. I'm a speck of dust, you're a speck of dust. We float around in space until we meet by chance and pull each other closer. And then we swirl together, growing hotter and hotter until we combine into a single sun. Okay, it's so beautiful. And just like really, I know this has nothing to do with the Invisible Cities Project, but I don't know. I just really appreciate translated works, and you really have to think about how special it is that happens, and how sad it is that it has to be something so special. You know what I mean? But that, to me, that afterword was just fantastic, and hopefully that gives you like a little taste of her for like writing and how good she is with words as well. So yes, I 100% recommend this. Let me know if you've read it or have any interest in it, and I will talk to you guys another time.